チューリッヒ、ミュンヘンとかは英語で何と言うんでしょうか？朝、カタカナでもいいので、そのまま言ってもいいんじゃない？ミュンヘンでしょ？それちょっと待ってください。海外について話すときによく海外の地名を使うかもしれないんですけど、実はカタカナなのにそのまま言っても通じないことが多いです。皆さんこんにちは、アーサーです。今回のレッスンではカタカナなのに英語で通じない地名をご紹介したいと思います。よろしくお願いします。A little while ago, I made a video about how many Japanese people say Kyoto and it doesn't make sense in English because the pronunciation is so different. And actually, for that video, I got a lot of comments asking me about not Japanese place names, but international place names. So I wanted to make this video for you. I'm American, but I was born in Germany. So when I was younger, I traveled to a lot of European countries. And so it was very natural for me to talk about my travels with my friends. But when I talked with my Japanese friends about places that we've been, a lot of times I didn't understand them because the place names they were saying, they said it in a way that I didn't understand. And that's when I realized that a lot of place names in Japanese, even if they're katakana, they don't make sense in English. Now, I know with katakana, normally if it's a katakana word, you think you can say it just like that in English. You know, taxi is taxi. Kamera is camera. And normally you can take katakana words and you can say it just in English, no problem, and it makes sense. So, you know, there are a lot of place names in Japanese, in katakana, that make sense in English. You have Barcelona, Barcelona, Toronto, Toronto, and Boston, Boston, right? Those make sense. But then you have other place names that don't make sense, like Igirisu doesn't make sense in English. You have to say England. Now, why is that? I did some research and I think I found a pattern. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, so don't hold me to it. I might be wrong, but in general, I found that countries and places, place names that have a long history with England, maybe history that goes 1,000 years back, those places tend to have a different place name in Japanese versus English. About 1,000 years ago, England had a deep connection with places in Central Europe, particularly France, Germany, Italy, Greece, and even some of the Middle East, maybe Turkey or even Israel, that area. And so a lot of place names in those countries tend to be different in Japanese and in English. But for other countries where the history only goes back about 500 years, 400 years, the place names in Japanese and English tend to be the same. So like, for example, the place Toronto in Canada, that's a pretty new city. Maybe it only has about 200 years of history, so it's Toronto. Spain, even though it's been around for a long time, hasn't had a really deep connection with England, and so a lot of the place names are just how they would be in English. Spain isn't España, it's Spain. Barcelona is Barcelona, just like that. But places that had a deep history with England that goes back about 1,000 years, those place names were anglicized. They were made into English words that sound more like English than the original place names. You know, actually in Japan, there was a similar thing that happened. Before World War II, a lot of foreign place names followed kanji no jukugo. So you would make the place names based on kanji jukugo. So England used to be Eikoku. For Europe, you now say Yoroppa, but before people said Oshu. And Australia is now Australia, but before it was Goshu. Now, Eikoku, Oshu, Goshu don't sound anything like England, Europe, or Australia. But those were the names of the places back maybe before World War II. And so it's interesting that I see that this has happened both in Japanese and in English. So in general, if it's a major city or a place name in Central Europe, not really far to the west or not really far to the east, it probably has a different name in English than the katakana word. And that's because there was a long history between it. But if it's outside, if it's a place that's outside of that area, that Central European area, it probably is the same word in katakana and in English. So now let's look at various place names by region. And we're going to start in Central Europe. We're going to start with Deutsche. How do you say Deutsche in English? You don't say Deutsche, you say Germany. In German, it's Deutschland, but in English, it's Germany. First one, Deutsche.
Germany.
Yeah. And historically, major cities in Germany also have a little bit different pronunciation. For example, the German city of Köln in German is Köln, but in English, it's Cologne. Yeah, exactly. Like 香水 is Cologne. That's the same pronunciation. That's the same word. I don't know why they're the same. Next one, Köln.
Kel.
Nope.
Kel.
Nope.
Köln.
Nope. Cologne.
Oh, I was almost right.
No, you weren't.
I was almost right.
No, you weren't.
I was very close.
Whatever. What about the German city München? The German word is München, which is similar to the Japanese word München. But in English, it's Munich. München?
Munich.
Yeah, we went there together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some other minor cities in Germany like Frankfurt. In English, that's Frankfurt. Stuttgart is Stuttgart. And Hamburg is Hamburg in English. But those cities were not so major. There wasn't as much connection between those places and England. So those are pretty much the same in Japanese and in German and in English. Now let's move to Austria. Now, Austria as a country is actually kind of new. It only existed as a country about 400, 500 years ago. So the name Austria in English is Austria. But what about Wien, the main city? Now, Wien has a history that goes really far back. And so in English, Wien isn't Wien, it's Vienna. Wien, Austriano Wien.
Wien.
Nope.
No. I know this.
No, you don't.
No, I do.
Wien.
Vienna.
Okay, there you go. Fine. You got it. Whatever. Now, let's go a little bit farther south to Swiss. Swiss in English isn't Swiss, it's Switzerland. Switzerland. You probably know this one. Swiss.
Switzerland.
Okay. And the capital of Swiss is Zürich. Now, what's Zürich in English? Well, in German, it's Zürich, but in English, it's Zurich. Zürich.
Zurich.
Nope.
Zurich.
Nope. It's Zurich.
Almost right.
Now let's go to some Mediterranean countries. Let's start with Italia. How do you say Italia in English? You say Italy. Not Italia, you say Italy. And what about Firenze? In English, you say Florence. Florence. Italia.
Italy.
Firenze.
Florence.
What was that?
Florence.
Good. Venezia. In English, you say Venice. Venice. Venezia.
Venice.
Okay. For Milano, in English, you say Milan. Milan. Milano.
Milano.
Nope.
Milan.
Yeah, Milan. Now let's go to another Mediterranean country. Let's go to Girisha. How do you say Girisha in English? You don't say Girisha, you say Greece. Greece. Girisha.
Greece.
And the capital city of Greece in Japanese is Athene. But how do you say that in English? Athens. Athens. It's pretty different, right? Well, in this case too, some minor cities sound very similar. The second largest city in Greece is Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki. And in Japanese, you say Thessaloniki, right? It's very similar. We're talking about the major cities here. The cities that have big historical importance tend to have different names. Athene.
Atlans.
Nope.
Athens. No. Athens.
Athens. Athens. You're close. Another country is Turco. How do you say Turco in English? You don't say Torco, you say Turkey. Like the bird, shichimencho, taki. It's the same pronunciation. Turkey.
Yes.
Turco.
Turkey.
There you go. You know, when I was a kid, I always thought it was weird that Turkey was named after a bird. And then I realized it wasn't, but the name is just the same. All right, let's look at some other countries too. So a little bit more to the west, between France and Spain, you have Belgium. How do you say Belgium in English? You say Belgium. Belgium. Belgium.
Belgium.
Belgium.
I said Belgium.
No, you said n with the n. Belgian. You said Belgian. Belgium. And the capital of Belgium is Bruxelles, right? Bruxelles. And how do you say Bruxelles in English? You don't say Brussels, you say Brussels. Brussels. It's kind of similar, but it's a little different. Bruxelles.
Bells.
What? Bruxelles.
Bells.
Brussels.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they come from. It's Bruxelles no cabbage. Brussels sprouts, make cabbage. And finally, let's look at Oranda. Oranda. How do you say Oranda in English? You don't say Hollanda, you say the Netherlands. それって全く関係なくない? Yes, I understand that. The official title of the Oranda, the country named Oranda, is the Netherlands, the lower country, because it's close to the sea level. But the main region, the most prosperous, the most rich region of the Netherlands was Holland. And so for a long time, people said Holland and the Netherlands were the same thing. So that's why Japanese people call the Netherlands Oranda. It comes from the place Holland. Oranda.
Holland.
Yes, but what's the country name?
Holland.
Nope, Netherlands. The
Oh,
Netherlands.
yeah.
ではまとめに入りましょう。1、イギリスと1000年以上歴史が遡る国とか地名はだいたいカタカナと違う発音になります。2、それ以外の地名はだいたいカタカナと同じでも構いません。普通に通じます。3、ということはカタカナの地名が通じない地名はだいたいフランス、イギリス、オーストリア、地中海のエリアだけになります。4、この国の地名を言いたいときに英語でそのまま言う前にちゃんと調べましょう。So in this lesson, we learned some very useful 実用的な英語。But normally, you can only learn this type of information when you actually talk with foreigners, when you actually use English. ほとんどの方は英語をたくさん学ぶのに、いきなり外国人と対面するってなると、頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこなくて、全く話せなくなります。具体的にどうしたら英語を学ぶだけではなく、生の世界で実際に話せるようになるんでしょうか。それを学ぶためにはちょっと時間がかかるので、心から学びたい方のために無料レッスンでお届けしたいと思います。詳しくは You can click up here or you can click the link in the description box below. As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう。See you next time.
I know.
I know. You're not right about this one.
I know. I'm always right.
Okay. プラハ。
Plain. Pla.
チェコのプラハ。
Pla.
Nope.
Pla.
Nope.
Plain.
Prague. ウクライナ。ウクライナ。
Ukraine.
Ukraine. You got that one.